Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second day of the Group A qualifiers for the ESL UK Premiership. I just slurred my word. First word on stream.
You either said lady and gentlemen, or you said lazy and gentlemen.
I thought I said lazy, but I kind of just slurred.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to get onto the rift here in the first game between Ascendance eSports and Grey Warwick. Grey Warwick, obviously, one of our NUEL teams coming up through that competition. The other one... Who was the other team that came out? Lincoln, that's one. I always think it's Nottingham Bears, but they were last season managing to...
Nottingham Bears and Birmingham Storm both made it to the NUEL Live finals, which meant that they were ineligible to play for the ESL qualifying series.
It's a shame, really, isn't it?
It's a shame because they are probably, undoubtedly, as you can tell by being in the NUEL Live finals, probably two of the best teams that the NUEL has to offer, alongside Cambridge and then the big dog in the NUEL side of things. But Grey Warwick are no mean competition. Yeah, well done. Dogs do go whiff, Sona. Grey Warwick.
This is why I'm not going to be a vet.
Grey Warwick are no mean competition, and they have got a big task ahead of them if they want to take down Ascendance, who have looked fairly strong across the open qualifiers that we've seen, as well as had some decent sparks of performance against Choke yesterday. Unfortunately, had to forfeit the second game due to some roster issues and some bugs with the client, etc. But they're back with force and looking to make their way to MCM, which means they'll have to beat out Grey Warwick and then beat out Infused for the right to take that position from Group A. Choke, however, have already qualified. They qualified yesterday. Infused will be wanting to do the best that they can to stop Ascendance in their tracks. Obviously, then Grey Warwick have the chance to go through too. The problem for Grey Warwick is people do put a lot against them. They probably are unfavoured in this matchup just because of the amount of time Ascendance has had on, or amount of experience Ascendance has had in the semi-professional scene. But Grey Warwick have shown that they have a plucky nature. They definitely can pull wins out of the bag when they need. They have upset very big teams in the NUEL before, and can they upset Ascendance? They could be their descendants. That doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
No, well, it was a good attempt, Scoundrel. Leave the puns to me, perhaps, because I'm actually able to use them some of the time. Sejuani being locked in here for Ascendance. They did ban out LeBlanc, Zed, and Morgana, and we see on the side of Grey Warwick, Graves, Thresh, Irelia being banned out. Could have reordered those to spell a very rude word if they'd wanted to decide against it. Janna, Lissandra being locked in here for Grey Warwick.
Would you say that's a very rude word, Sona?
I'd say it's a moderately rude word. What I wouldn't want to say on stream. Tig.
Yeah, I mean, I can't work out whether that's considered a completely rude word these days. I don't know.
I'd prefer not to say it.
I mean, I wouldn't say it anyway, but I'm just wondering, you know, how the English language has moved on. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago that would have been particularly...
Quite possibly, yeah.
Yeah, who knows. But yeah, anyway, looks like Ascendance, I've picked up a couple of champions. We have just basically ignored everything that's happened.
Hey, I talked to you, pick some bands.
Did you? Yeah, well, okay. Well, Sejuani being the first pickup for Ascendance, they've also picked up Nautilus and Lucian, and Nautilus likely going over to Damnation
and Vlad
support. Vlad almost certainly going to be going mid, as that Rumble was originally being hovered over by Subtomic. So kind of like Vlad making his bit of a comeback to the mid lane these days. You kind of see a more health-based Vlad. I tend to see a lot of heavy health-based Vlads that's sort of a little more tanky, a little more durable in that mid lane, because then they need it to go toe-to-toe with AP casters. They do often suffer from the ability of being poked down. Obviously, he can sustain quite happily through, you know, Vlad's entire kit is fantastic for that kind of thing. Obviously, his Drain Life, I can't remember what it's called. Transfusion is obviously his key ability, but...
Interestingly, actually, talking about the health-based builds on Vladimir, we do tend to see a lot of Spirit Visages, Rylai's, that sort of idea. But Tundra brought out a split-push Vladimir top lane at iSeries with the Luden's Echo as one of his first items.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing that a lot on non-mana-based champions like Katarina, you know, that champions like that, because Luden's Echo is just very powerful, who can spam skills without any sort of fear of using a resource, and especially if you can pick it up early on and you don't have access to blue buff, or you wouldn't need access to blue buff, then obviously that kind of thing can work out really well for them. And I mean, from the mid lane, maybe he'll look towards to going to that path and then taking on the split push role later on, and allowing Rumble to do what he does best and function in a team fight. But we'll have to see how he does from that mid lane. He's going to be going up against Lissandra, so there is a little bit of discrepancy in terms of hard engage. There. I mean, obviously, Lissandra, if she does get the help, does get a little bit of cooperation in that mid lane from a jungler, quite easy to shut down Vlad as long as they can force that pull out early on. They can get the Frozen Tomb, and then Vlad is obviously quite easily to focus down from that point on forward. But going to be Lulu in the top lane, and they're going for what appears to be like a semi-juggernaut build. It's They're not running a defensive mid laner. Maybe just maybe Lissandra in the sense can
Just
peel a little
mildly
bit.
defensive,
Ring of Frost can peel. You can always isolate targets attempting
Mhm.
to take down Kog'Maw with the Frozen Tomb. And obviously you've got a bit of peel that can pull out from Rek'Sai. He
Yeah.
can always unburrow. That knocks people up. And
Mhm.
obviously he's got the slow. And obviously is a little bit of a threat in his own right, so people don't like to ignore him. But yeah, with the Janna and the Lulu.
She's a woman.
Yeah,
Just
she is
saying.
a woman. Yeah, I completely
My
forgot.
feminist agenda coming out there.
Oh, well, obviously got to get it
Rek'Sai
right.
is a female.
It's a female
Learn your
void.
pronouns, etc.
A female. Thank you. A female void being. But yeah, basically, obviously with the Lulu and the Janna, it's like a semi-Juggernaut build.
Yeah.
They're not going for as defensive mid laner as
Mhm.
you could pick up in the Juggernaut build, but it definitely it is basically the key concept
Yeah.
behind picking that Kog'Maw with the Janna and Lulu. And then they've got a little bit more, I guess, backline threat in the sense they've got the Lissandra and the Rek'Sai there, who often, if they can get rolling, shouldn't be ignored and can't be ignored.
Definitely.
Whereas it's more of a big team fight competition coming out from
Oh,
Ascendance.
yeah.
I mean, obviously you've got the combo. You don't even need to say it. The combo between the Vladimir ult, the Rumble ult, and the Sejuani ult could be
so
absolutely
strong.
ridiculous. And then obviously you've got the Nautilus just to either peel or lock down and try and bring people closer to that AOE team fight that's going on. And obviously he can get knockups on key targets, which will allow the team fight to potentially go in for the initiation. And then Lucian just does what he does best from the back line. That's he thrives in being able to take out hard CC targets. He can just jump in, get as many abilities off in close quarters as he can. The light slinger going down, the culling can do the maximum efficiency, maximum work. Obviously, likelihood of using the culling as the team fight's taking place is very unlikely, but that kind of thing works with Lucian. So
we tend to see the culling used either at the start or at the end of a team fight. Like you use it to poke down the enemy AD carry if they're slightly out of position. You use it just to try and put some damage onto the tanks while you're waiting for the big engages to come off, and then after that, you're just dodging around that fight as much as you can.
Yeah.
When we see Rek'Sai's picked in the sort of Juggernaut comps, they tend to go for a split push idea. What they'll do is they'll split, try and get other lanes pushing a little bit, and then they'll use that Void Rush to get into the fight. Do you think we'll see NUEL doing that in this game?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on how much he's going to go building towards a 1v1 kind of build, because the likelihood is I don't think if he's going to be going full tank that he'll be very able to duel Vladimir, for instance. Maybe in the early mid phases where obviously the base stats of Rek'Sai will help out, and being a tanky will still do a fair amount of damage to someone like Vladimir. But the later stages of the game, Rek'Sai probably just wouldn't be able to out-push or out-duel a Vladimir, or even maybe a Rumble, depends on how far Rumble gets ahead. He just won't have the damage for it. So I expect to see, unless he gets absolutely massively rolling ahead, I expect him to be more in a teamfight orientated role. You could see Lulu split pushing more. Like Lulu can often do quite well in a split push role, especially with teleport. She has good wave clear with Glitter Lance, fairly good 1v1. That's kind of what she's good for in lane. She's good for poking and 1v1ing, and against a champ like Rumble, he will really suffer against her Glitter Lance, and basically. You just continuously look to put that down, put pressure on with the auto attacks, put pressure on with the Glitter Lance, and try and force him out of lane. So maybe if she goes towards a more split push Lulu build now, the likelihood is with the Juggernaut comp she won't be going something like Lich Bane. It really depends on how much they value her role in that kind of sense. Do they want them to be completely orientated around giving as much health and as much shield to Kog'Maw as physically possible, or do they want her to go into that sort of more split push role to take full advantage of the teleport? Even without the Lich Bane, she can do a fairly good job, and so but she's not obviously the best split pushing champion in the world. You wouldn't pick her if you were going for a split push competition. It's not like Lulu will be picked first off. So she can move into that role, and maybe we may see her, depending on how far she gets ahead, do that. And if she has enough AP to still be a big help towards keeping Kog'Maw alive, she may even choose to go for the Lich Bane. At which point, obviously, towers will be a lot easier for her to take down because she'll have that extra magic damage on auto attack. Even Lissandra could move into a split push role, but it's obviously without teleport, it's a little bit more difficult. The only reason you suggested Rek'Sai is because he has that ultimate to get to the...
Yeah, still a woman.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to correct you every time.
Well, I hope you don't, because it's a little bit more difficult for her to get across. A little more difficult for Lissandra to get across the map compared to Rek'Sai and Lulu. Does it really matter? Does it really matter if I call Rek'Sai, man?
If the gender pronouns that she prefers to have, Excoundrel, I've seen this a lot on Tumblr, and apparently it's a big thing. You have to follow gender pronouns.
Well, once Rek'Sai makes a Tumblr and complains about me accidentally calling her a he,
what would Rek'Sai's Tumblr even be called?
Today I woke up and accidentally ate about 7 people in the desert, but they all mistook me for a man, so it doesn't matter.
www.queenswrath.tumblr.com. Or people keep thinking I'm a man.tumblr.com might even work. We are on to the Rift. Looks like it's going to be relatively defensive starts from both of these teams. Ascendance on the blue side. We're going to see Zizzle in the top lane. That's him playing that Super Galaxy Rumble. In the jungle, we're going to see Ascendance Veil on the Sejuani. Mid lane, Harpastor's playing Vlad. In the bottom lane, it's Subatomic on Lucian and Damnation on that Nautilus.
Damnation on Nautilus indeed, and we're going to see the Warwick lineup with Lulu, Azalak, Lulu top, Noelit on the Rek'Sai jungle, I'm a Cup on Lissandra in the mid lane, Mr. Rogers on that Cogmore, and Sanem on the Janna.
Oh, Damnation needs to be careful. He's going to get caught out here. Of course, does have that anchor toss if he wants to get away. We'll just walk his way away. And with Sam and Mr. Rogers not quite responding quickly enough, we will just see Damnation being able to walk out of the enemy jungle. Got a deep bit of pressure there. No award as far as I can see, though. And Veil and Zizzle just going to do a little invade on this red.
I'm interested because you're seeing here, I was about to bring it up, Ascendants are looking for the lane swap, because to lane swap into a rumble is quite ideal, because Lulu actually does okay in a 2v1 situation. Obviously you want to give Cogmore as much breadth as possible to get that farm, because obviously the more farm the Cogmore has, the better it is for the Juggernaut composition. And obviously, if he's going toe-to-toe in a 2v2 situation, there's more chance of him being shut down. Whereas in a 2v1, it's a little more difficult to shut down that AD and support lane. But they are going to opt to just go 2v2 here, maybe being a little bit unpracticed in the 2v1 situations. They don't want to risk that kind of thing. Rumble definitely suffers in a 2v1 situation. It's a lot harder to farm with Flame Splitter if you're not, I guess, completely on point all the time. It's a lot harder to farm with Flame Splitter and the turret, and using those auto attacks is a big part of Rumble's early farming, which is a lot more difficult to do, obviously, as a melee AP mage in the top lane when you're going up against a 2v1 lane. Whereas Lulu obviously has Glitter Lance, she has ranged auto attacks and keep within experience range fairly easily. And actually can do a good job. Oh, Sam already taking so much damage in that bot lane. That was just from one little engage at level 1, and Damnation, he's not taking any prisoners. There are no prisoners in space for Astro Nautilus.
There are no prisoners in space. Quote of the day from Excalibur there. We had one yesterday as well. I was going to ask you, Excalibur, how do you think Harpastor's going to deal with Lissandra's pushing potential in this mid lane? I mean,
Vladimir is not the worst pusher in the world either. As long as he can stack up the...
Tides of Blood?
Tides of Blood, indeed, yeah. As long as he can stack up the Tides of Blood, then actually he'll be at least comparable. Obviously, it's a little bit more risky for Harpastor to consistently spam Tides of Blood, because obviously it does cost health to spam that. And increasing health cost as well, obviously, with Tides of Blood. But I actually don't think he'll struggle too much with the pushing against Lissandra. I think both of them will probably be in a status quo in this mid lane. And already you can see, actually, Harpastor getting the better of the push as we start this out.
I'm a Carp. We'll just try and counter push that one out a little bit. CSing relatively well, both them equal in that bottom lane. There's a little bit of a wave advantage here for Mr. Rogers and Sam in the bottom lane, but Subatomic and Damnation showing how much pressure you can put down with that staggering blow coming out of the Nautilus. It's going to be just a farm lane for them at the moment. Level 6 big power spikes for both teams coming out here. Lulu with the Wild Growth, of course, the Equalizer, Glacial Prison, Hemo Plague. We talked about how well those all combine. And then there's Depth Charge as well coming out from Damnation in the bottom lane. They're going to be able to lock someone down and take them out very quickly when this Ascendance lineup hits level 6.
Yeah, I mean, basically, in this bot lane, it's going to be really, really good having this Nautilus on board against the Janna and Cogmore, because obviously Nautilus has so many ways he can look to engage. As long as he can circumnavigate Mr. Rogers getting engaged on, but he's going to get away with that. Voidoo's there. He's going to get another auto attack onto San, and San has to be careful. He is taking a fair amount of poke, but a good return with that Bio-Arcane Barrage from Mr. Rogers means that very much left in the middle for both of these bot lane members. But having that Nautilus is going to be fairly decent against the Janna. As long as he can circumnavigate Janna's peel and Janna's disengage, he does have a lot of tools in his arsenal to continuously look to re-engage upon this bot lane and try and put as much damage down to Cogmore as physically possible.
He's doing a good job of it thus far. If that Anchor Toss does land, you have to expect Damnation and Subatomic to go a little bit aggressive. We saw both the junglers looking up towards that top lane, perhaps eyeing up for a gank. Nothing's going to happen though. The Tremor Sense did spot out Veil, and Nolet will just take away that Scuttle Crab and be able to rotate his way down towards this mid lane. A very safe and cagey start from both of these teams.
Yeah, one thing I want to pick out on here is that Vladimir he's probably one of the better AP scaling carries in the game. He scales very well. He's almost like the AP equivalent to Cog in the sense that he's just fantastic the later you get into the game. And basically, Cogmore obviously it does well against that in the sense that he just chunks through people who build that max percentage health base damage. And obviously, Vladimir is going to be looking to build high health values because he scales well of it with his passive. So it really is going to be dependent on which of those really start to snowball out of control and get ahead, because if Vladimir gets ahead before the Cog, he can be a lot more threatening earlier on, whereas if the Cog starts to get ahead, it doesn't really matter how much health Vladimir builds. As long as Cog is avoiding the majority of the damage, he should be fine.
It's one of the reasons we might see Half Past Thor go for that more AP sided build, so maybe the Ludens Echo early on and then into some more AP after that instead of going for the health. Yes, Vlad works really well with health because of that passive, but when there's someone on the enemy team who inherently shreds through your health, it might not be what's advisable. San has to flash away, and the bottom lane build was coming in as well. Damnation once again with an anchor toss into a staggering blow, but here comes Rek'Sai. What can NUEL do here? Decides to back away. There was a ward in the bush. And a good little engage there by Ascendance gets the flash.
Yeah, I kind of inclined to agree with you about Half-Past Thor. He may actually look to go for a bit more of a bursty build, because I essentially think in these team fights they're going to be wanting to get as big of an AoE engage as possible. And what's great about having an AoE composition is that they don't just have to focus Cog. Because in a Cog, when you're going up against a Cogmore composition, sometimes people go probably more assassin-based singular target focus builds. In this AoE composition, they don't have to just focus Cog, so they can deal with multiple threats at once while also attempting to deal with Cog. It's all about the placement of their AoE and how they look to manage these team fights.
Definitely is. Still a very cagey start from both these teams. A little bit of a CS advantage in the top lane for Zizzle over Azalark, but it's only 6 or 7, maybe 9 at the moment. Half Past Thor needs to be a little bit careful because NUEL is on the prowl. Here comes Rek'Sai, going to tunnel under that Vladimir, but the Sanguine Pool once more gets him away towards safety. And with Sejuani off towards the top side, NUEL might be in a bit of trouble. The Hemoplay comes out, the flash out of NUEL. There's the Frozen Tomb, and Alpha Macabre is going to have to back away. He doesn't have any mana left, but it's an ultimate for an ultimate. NUEL did have to burn his splash.
Yep, NUEL burnt his thrash. Half-Past Thor going to...
meanwhile, top lane, Zizzle's very low. Azalark going to get the Whimsy. The Flame Spitters will be enough, though, and Zizzle turns it round. It looked like he was down for the count, but no cooldowns left onto Azalark after that Whimsy was used meant that the Flame Spitter was enough.
Yeah, and Lulu losing this lane, actually, really quite hard. She's down 20 CS. And it just gives a testament to how well Zizzle's playing on this Rumble. It's definitely a lane that he should struggle in. Obviously, once he hits power spikes and can just avoid glitter lances, then there is the chance for him to, or we're going to see a bit of a engage by NUEL here. He's trying to do something about this dragon.
Can he do anything about it, though? No, he's going to get knocked out with the Arctic, so he's going to get Will in with the Dredge line. And that is a very dead Rek'Sai. Taken out once more by the Ascendance lineup, and having to burn his flash earlier on meant that dragon probably should have been given away to Ascendance. Yeah,
I got to say, I'm not quite sure why the Grey Warwick lineup are so keen on fighting these early dragons, especially with the composition that they have. The Lulu just died, so there is always the teleport that was still up, I think, on... no, teleport wasn't up on Zizzle, rather, but still, Lulu just died. Cogmore isn't particularly strong at this point in time, and Rek'Sai and Arpa Macabre were just not in a position to really do much about this dragon, especially since Arpa Macabre is so low on mana. I think you can forego early dragons with a composition like this because you're really playing for that later stage of the game. You don't need to be too fussed about the early game. Yeah, you lose the dragon, but obviously you don't lose gold anymore. It's only that 6% AD and AP, and that's really becomes more effective the later the game goes on. The later the game goes on, it's the better for the Grey Warwick side. They want the late game to go later on. They don't need to give away free kills, especially to targets like Subatomic, by going in for these dragons early on.
And they have the timer on it as well. I mean, what you can do with early dragons is you say, well, we're going to get the timer, that's fine, we know when it goes down. We'll just stay in our lanes, get some of the CS disadvantage back in our favor, and then be able to fight the enemy laners when they get back into the lane. The 1 or 2 AD that you're getting out of that dragon at this point doesn't really matter much. NUEL's going to try and get onto Damnation, misses the Prey Seeker. Subatomic gets slow with the Void. It's a nice Howling Gale. There's the culling, and NUEL has to back away with San. But they're going to pop the Dredge line onto him. The Depth Charge came out as well. A nice Monsoon will knock Damnation back, but the exhaust on Subatomic meant that he had to back away. Teleport's coming in here. There's no counter teleport available for Azalark. A good Howling Gale, but Mr. Rogers the target. Equalizer does come across. It was very well placed, but Mr. Rogers should be able to get away from this one. Chucks out that Caustic Spittle as he backs away. And it will be Grey Warwick retreating to their tower once more. There is a teleport available on Azalark now, so if the dive comes out, have to expect a teleport wild growth. It doesn't look like Ascendance are going to want to tower dive this one. Subatomic taking a tower shot will definitely make them decide to back off.
Yeah, actually, Zizzle's equalizer was fantastic. Had Damnation been pushed a little bit further up when that had happened, that would, I'm certain, would have spelt someone was doom.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was just a great equalizer with no real great follow-up. But Damnation...
Once again, the dredge line onto Mr. Rogers. The Ignite goes down. Mr. Rogers flashes away, but here comes Subatomic. Relentless pursuit. Damnation picks up the kill with that Ignite. And Ascendance showing that this bot lane knows its stuff. Pick up another kill for themselves.
Subatomic is so good on Lucian. I remember seeing someone talking about it a while ago, and they really sort of praised the Subatomic's Lucian, because he very rarely pulls it out, but when he does, it's always really, really good. So he's showing why he's such a good Lucian player, and obviously now, I believe that kill actually went over to Damnation.
Yeah, it did. The Ignite got it.
Yeah, the Ignite picked up the kill there, so it's actually all right for a Nautilus to be picking up these early kills that allow him to, like you see, pick up the mobility boots. He's got that sight stone. He's also got the relic shield still, so he's still got a fair amount in the bank at this point in terms of items over Janna. So those mobility boots are also going to be fantastic when he's looking to start off engages for the Ascendance lineup.
Yeah, the AD carry for Ascendance at the moment, playing like an Electron. He's subatomic.
Why is he playing like
because
an
electrons are smaller than atoms.
Subatomic. Why is he playing like
because
an
he's subatomic, that's his name, and I was making a pun about his name, and it was funny.
I get it, but you said he's playing like an electron.
Yeah, he has electricity. He's electrifying the fights with those laser beams.
I mean, technically electrons don't have electricity. They do have an electric charge, but every subatomic particle has an electric charge.
Well, I was trying to make a pun, and you've ruined it now, Scoundrel.
Well, you've ruined a few of my puns, so I'm just gonna. I think, from what I do remember from A-level physics, is that it's the flow of electrons that is
they develop a charge, flow, etc. Anyway, up, I'm a Carp, struggling a little bit versus this Vladimir in the mid lane. We've always talked about how Vladimir, when he hits that level 9 Power Spark with the level 5 in Transfusion, is going to do a huge amount of damage and can sustain himself really, really well. The Tides of Blood used just to push up that lane.
Yeah.
Up on McCup needs to be careful. The Hemoblade's going to go in there. Wow.
Rip.
Wow. Rest in peace. Hector.
Yeah, I mean, like we're seeing, he's not having any issues pushing against Lissandra at this point in time, because that's what just Vladimir gets to that point. When he's got 5 in Transfusion and he's getting stacks in Tides of Blood, he's just going to be able to push like crazy, but this bot lane...
Equalizer, is the wild growth going to be enough? Azalok taken down. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, there's a dive. Damnation getting under the tower, but Hickam Alpha, and there, Mr. Rogers, the target. He's going to go down. Icathian Surprise will not pick anyone up as far as I can tell. Harpastor's going to keep diving onto Sam, and that is going to be a dead Janna in just a second. Look at the damage coming out from that Tides of Blood, fully stacked up, along with the Sanguine Pool. The tower's going to go down in the bottom lane, and at the moment, it's a clean sweep for Ascendance eSports 7-0. They picked up their first tower as a game, have yet to lose one as well. Here's a replay.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's just nothing that the bot lane from Grey Warwick can do about this. There's almost nothing to analyze in the sense that it was a 4 versus 2 dive. Mr. Rogers just gets taken down there. Subatomic did almost go down himself, manages to escape with the heal. And Harpastor, there's nothing going to do here. He just dies. I mean, I'm sorry, Harpastor just gets the kill rather. He's just so fed at this point in time.
There's a fight on Vale at the moment. He's going to get taken out. Azalok picks up Subatomic with a teleport as well. Arpa, McCarp and Nolet pushing back Subatomic and Vale, who stayed around a little bit too long, and the teleport coming in from Azalok to help them pick up the kill.
Arpa McCarp picks up the kill. That's a bit more experience towards his Gyarados transformation, his Magikarp form right now.
At the moment, he's only doing splash damage.
He's only yeah. I'll give you a high five for that.
Hey, boys, the puns are back. 4,000 gold the lead for Ascendance at the moment. I'm sure Grey Warwick are hoping they can get back into this one, but looking a little bit difficult for them. They have just picked up their first 2 kills of the game. Nolet's going to try and get onto Harpastor. Azalok and Sam here as well. The Glitter Lance will get the slowdown here. Comes the Glacial Path, and Harpastor gets locked away. Sam picks up the kill. That's not the best target, but Grey Warwick will take what they can get at the moment. Mr. Rogers has left. He was like, oh, why would my support take a kill? Oh, it's F4.
It's the rage quit from Mr. Rogers, but, you know, it's just a disconnect. Hopefully we'll be back into the game ASAP. But, well, we're going to have this next dragon going up. I do think Ascendance will have to be careful, but they have a very, very fed Rumble who has teleport coming up in probably about 15-20 seconds.
Let's have a look.
If they can
24.
So if they can to stall this one out with both Vale and Damnation and allow time for Zizzle to teleport down, they should be able to mount a fairly good resistance to try and take the second dragon. But just look how far Vale is away. It'll take a lot of doing for that to happen before Grey Warwick managed to take this Drake down. So this could be the first Drake of the day. Drake of the game? Drake of the day for Grey Warwick too.
Yeah,
like, both of those statements were technically correct, I guess.
A quick question here. We're coming up to the sort of team fighting, dragon fighting stage of the game, which is what we're about to see, as you said. First dragon of the game for Grey Warwick, if they get it. Do you feel that perhaps itemization-wise, Grey Warwick have missed the trick? Because they're against double AP with a Rumble and a Bland who got fed early. Do you think perhaps an Abyssal Scepter on either that Lulu or that Lissandra first would have been a good choice?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends what you value more as a Lissandra. Do you value trying to shut down the healing from Vladimir with the Nomicon, or do you value trying to be a bit more in the face? As you know, Lissandra has to be in that position where she's going to be in the face of you, because that's the way her sort of champion works. You have to be in the midst of the team fight doing what she does best, which is frozen tombing and using her ice shards, etc. But the Nomicon, I guess the theory for that there was I want to shut down the healing from Vladimir. I need the cooldown reduction as well, so I can spam more skills. I don't think it's a bad item choice, but yeah, maybe the Abyssal Scepter on either Lulu or on Arpam Cup may have been a little bit better. But then obviously Arpam Azalak not going to be as close quarters as Arpam Cup.
And he's fallen behind her.
But what I think we'll see coming out from Rek'Sai is going to be a Locket of the Ancillary. I think that has to be the second item choice for him. Maybe less so on Janna, but definitely on Rek'Sai. I think that's a really key item for them to pick up. Against the double AP composition, it's actually almost a quadruple AP composition. You've got Zizzle, Veil, Harper's Thor, Damnation, all dealing AP damage. It'll be silly not to pick up a Locket somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I think at the moment, Ascendance showing a slight bit of form in this game. 5,000 gold the lead. We see Grey Warwick trying to defend their inner tower. Mr. Rogers went Sheen first on this Cogmore. He's building towards that Triforce as you'd expect him to do. But there's already a completed Infinity Edge on the side of Subatomic. So falling a little bit behind. He's still even got his warding totem. Hasn't switched that across towards the Scrying Orb yet. Do you feel that perhaps an earlier Scrying Orb on Mr. Rogers, or maybe even a couple of earlier sweeping totems on the side of Grey Warwick could get them back into this game? Because Vision Denial is so big.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the Grey Warwick vision right now is quite lackluster apart from the river areas. They've got some interesting wards in the back of Dragon Pit, which obviously was there for when they were taking the dragon, and obviously the Tribrush ward, but they haven't got a lot of other control. Jungle entrances are not well controlled by the Grey Warwick side, whereas there is deep wards coming out, or starting to come out from the Ascendance lineup, and they've really prioritized getting that red side jungle locked up. And maybe with that ward on the red buff there, you're maybe looking to see a red invade coming out if they're in position for it. But with everyone being around mid, that may be the more likely thing that's going to happen soon. They all just have to move around, and the rest of the team may rotate for that red buff too.
Let's have a look at the gold across the board. A 1,400 lead for Zizzle in the top lane, and 2 kills early on, helping him out a lot. In the mid lane, it's 700 gold once more. Harper's Thor just slowly pushing himself into the advantage, but the bottom lane, 1,500 between the AD carries. That is a big disadvantage.
Oh, Azalak.
At the moment. Azalak going to get jumped on here. The Equalizer comes out, but he will get away with the flash and the wild go, so he does manage to get across towards safety.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the Grey Warwick team has to just turtle as hard as possible. They're going to lose team fights from now on. There'll be very few instances in which I think that they'll win a team fight. So really, they just want to be looking to defend as long as possible. That's why I think Rek'Sai picking up the Locket would be better, just because he's not going to be looking to counter-engage. He doesn't want to counter-engage at this point in time. He really just wants to defend for his team as much as possible. Janna could go for it, but that actually going for that Coin of Ascension gives them a disengage, more disengage on her side as well. And eventually may give them engage, but they don't want to be engaging. Mr. Rogers is just not strong enough, and there's not enough damage now on the side of Grey Warwick to even contemplate fighting. They just need to try and get as much farm onto Mr. Rogers, try and defend as much as possible, and don't give much more away. Don't give any more rope to the Ascendance line. Don't give away any more silly kills. Defend as best you can, but don't get desperate. The best thing you can do is just try and hide behind your inner turrets and just anti-siege as much as possible. Use Lulu to clear those waves. Use Janna to try and delay and clear those waves. I mean, Lissandra also has good wave clear. Lulu and Lissandra should be able to use Path of Frost and Glitterlance to just clear waves over and over again. Obviously, there's a lot of hard engage from Ascendance, and that's going to be probably the biggest defining factor here, that Ascendance could probably get to a point, even if it's stalling, where they can just tower dive easily, just because at this point Mr. Rogers is quite far behind.
But they're just letting him free farm this bot lane at the moment. There's no threat coming out from Ascendance on him. We now, eventually, after about 3 or 4 minutes of free farming, we are going to see Veil and Damnation rotating across towards us, just getting those deep wards in. But Mr. Rogers has pushed this up and let it come back a few times. He's only 40 CS behind now. And it's the thing with a Juggernaut comp, or a pseudo-Juggernaut comp, which is what I'm going to call this, because they've probably got a little bit more damage on their mid laner than you'd see from a Juggernaut. You can just farm. If you can get to late game, if you can get to 2 or 3 items on that Cogmore, it's a lot more difficult for the enemy team to deal with you, even if you are 5 to 10,000 gold behind. You don't want to be more than that. That's kind of the upper limit of how much gold deficit you can accept, but at the moment, it's not looking absolutely awful. Arthur McCupp's going to go into Subtomic. There's no let as well. Subtomic's going to get destroyed. The Hemoplague does come out, and Arthur McCupp should get taken down. Wild Growth on him. No, Hemoplague is not enough. Harper still gets taken out by Mr. Rogers. Arthur McCupp trying to escape. A good equalizer from Zizzle, locking away 2 members of the fight here. Glacial Prison from the backline, though. Veil coming in. Mr. Rogers can do nothing. It's going to be an ace. And we see Grey Warwick getting infinitely duressed there by Ascendance eSports, as Zizzle with an equalizer.
I mean, this is what I was talking about. This was a fantastic engagement to Subatomic. They get a big lock-up on him, and he goes down. And then Harper's Thor also gets exhausted. He's pretty much taken out the fight, but that equalizer right there was so fantastic. And then the follow-up was brilliant. And Sejuani landed a 3-man ultimate, and that just spelt doom. The AoE composition really coming into effect. Like I said, I don't think Grey Warwick want to be looking to engage right now. Even in situations like this, they just can't be sure enough that they're going to have the damage to take people down.
The thing was, it was a great fight to take down Subtomic straight away. I feel they probably should have backed away straight after that. They didn't need to chase into that choke point to get onto Harper's Thor, and if they backed away, it would have been fine. The Dragon is going to go across towards Ascendance the second of the game. It's still only 8,000 gold. I know that it is a lot, and it sounds like a lot, but with a Cogmore we saw there, if he can get a few auto attacks off, if he can start shredding through those tanks, it gets your team the possibility of getting back into these games. And now that he's free farming once more in the bot lane, he's only going to be about 30 CS behind. Yes, he is half a completed item behind, but it's not as big as it seems.
The thing about Cogmore is, once he gets the 2 items, so once he gets that Blade of the Ruin kit, that's the Cog countdown timer. That's when he starts to become useful. That's a big power spike for him. The percentage health-based damage starts to stack. He's got the attack speed that he needs. That is when Cogmore will really start to shine. They've got to wait for that point. They've got to wait for Mr. Rogers to get to the position where he's got the 2 items. But he's just so far up off that position right now. He's got 380 gold. Right, they basically can afford 1 extra longsword at this point in time. They've got a long time to wait. They're not going to do themselves any favors by looking to engage even 3 versus 5. And I think that's going to be a big wake-up call for them, that even when they do try to engage, they can just get absolutely wrecked by just one singular good...
Whoa, whoa, Mr. Rogers. What was that all about, my man? You flashed, didn't you? Tut.
So this is the problem when you run these protect the AD compositions. If your AD does badly, then the entire team kind of lags behind. Oh, the poor Mr. Rogers.
Look at how sad he looks.
He looks very sad. But no, I mean, this is the problem with protect the AD competitions. We've seen it previously, that if your AD does badly, then your team does badly, because there isn't enough follow-up damage from the rest of the team to counteract the fact that most of them are there to try and protect their AD carry. We saw it actually with Choke yesterday. They looked like they were falling behind. It was only some fantastic play from DX and Morgana that really carried those hard mid-game team fights, so they could have potentially lost quite easily to Infused. So it's not working the same way out here, because no one on the side of Grey Warwick is in a position where they can try and carry these mid-game fights without relying on Mr. Rogers to be the majority of their damage.
Mr. Rogers is definitely going to be all, basically, apart from perhaps a little bit of damage coming out from Arthur McCart, but we see Ascendance rotating up towards the top lane in a tower. Either Storm Shield will keep it up for a little bit, but Leandres and another needlessly large rod, already finished on Zizzle. He's building towards that Rabadon. He's outputting a huge amount of damage on that Rumble, and even with the Abyssal Scepter that Arthur McCart has now decided to pick up, they're going to struggle to take down this mighty Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, Abyssal Scepter was definitely the best item choice for Arthur McCart, second going into this team competition. But again, it's probably a little bit too late to have too much of a difference. It will definitely help him survive maybe a second or two longer in team fights, and that could be all the difference that he needs. But Vladimir at this point has got so much damage, so much healing as well. Nice ultimate from Harper McCart, but I think he's going to go down anyway.
Come in straight away. Harper still picks up the kill with the transfusion. It was a good ultimate, but didn't really give him much. He's having to not get that Zhonya as well. Damnation flashes away. He's going to escape. Oh, Preyseeker not going to be enough. There's no AP on that Rek'Sai. He's not going to be able to spam out that. She's not going to be able to spam out that Preyseeker. And Ascendance eSports once again make a pick. Cullen coming in from the side as well. And it looks like they will just be able to push down onto this inner tower in the middle lane. It'll be their fourth of the game if they get it. Still no towers lost for them as well.
Yeah, and Vlad at this point, Harper's Thor is an absolute beast. And who do you try and focus here? Because after, Rumble is ridiculously fed. Harper's Thor is ridiculously farmed and fed also. I mean, obviously, actually, Harper McCarthy is keeping up, but he's still getting a mass amount of gold that, Vladimir is just going to scale better than Lissandra. That's just what he does. Vladimir is one of the better AP scalers in the game. Yeah, scalers in the game. We've talked about it. And now there's a Righteous Glory being picked up as well as an Aegis of the Legion, which makes a lot of sense. They're actually running up against a double AD competition in the sense as well, and obviously Cogmore does do a portion mixed damage with the magic damage coming out from Bioarcane Mirage.
I'm a little bit shocked that we haven't seen an Aegis come out from Grey Warwick yet. I mean, we talked about it earlier. We thought NUEL, first item after completing that jungle item, would be an Aegis, or even one going off onto Psalm on the support role, but neither of them have got that. Perhaps Psalm building towards one with that null magic mantle, but I really feel like an early Aegis was very, very important here for Grey Warwick, just to protect that Cogmore even more. And by not building it, they're definitely missing a trick. They're definitely hamstringing themselves, really, in these team fights.
Yeah. And I think the pick-up on Vlad here, he's gone for the Spirit Visage and Well of the Ancients. He's not looking...
It's not that burst.
He's not looking to one-bomb people. I mean, Rumble being so far ahead, he doesn't need the extra damage at this point in time. The likelihood is that if they're going to start moving towards these inhibitor turrets, and if they do run into problems taking these inhibitor turrets, they now have the option to allow Half-Past Thor to split push, like we talked about previously. Because he should be able to out-trade and out-sustain anyone in a 1v1 situation with both Spirit Visage and Will of the Ancients. Transfusion is going to be doing so much damage. He's going to be and so much healing.
Yeah, it's all about the spell vamp.
Exactly, and he'll also be getting a lot of health back from when he's using a fully stacked Tides of Blood.
Yeah, most definitely. Subatomic being given the enemy blue buff. They're going to try and wait for a little bait here, but mate, you're standing on a ward. You need to sweep that one out before you can set up any traps like this. NUEL pushing forward. Prey seeking out who will spot out the Ascendance team there. And he will just back away. 70 CS differential in this top lane. Zizzle now with that fully built Rabadon's Death Cap, and he's got the Alacrity enchant. Why do you think he's gone for that one? Oh, sorry, team fight. Shut up, Excalibur. Here's Harper McCart going on to Subatomic, going to try and get him down, but it's not enough. The Stag Beam blows, locks him down. There's a Glacial Prism, a good equalizer as well. NUEL's going to go down, Psalm's going to go down, Mr. Rogers is going to go down, and everyone going down here on the side of Grey Warwick. Wild growth used by Azalak to get away right at the end, but everyone just got destroyed there from Grey Warwick. Ascendance eSports pick up the fight.
Yeah, we're going to see it here. Just a really nice engage by Vale. He's tanking the majority of the damage as Harper's Thor and Zizzle just come in from the back line. They do what they do best, chase down the squishies, get into the midst of the team fight, and obviously, like I said, Ascendance are just too far ahead at this point. It doesn't matter how Grey Warwick play that team fight. There's going to be very few situations where they come out on top, and that was one of the situations where they did not.
Grey Warwick went down faster than an elevator with its brake lines cut. And what can they do to rise up once more in this game? I'm not sure. It feels a little bit like they're at floor 13. It's unlucky for some, and it's definitely being unlucky for them.
Yeah, very much so. And
at some point, I'll manage to get a metaphor going that actually sticks through my entire thought pattern. But today is not the day that's going to happen.
Yeah, well, hopefully, eventually, the later we go, your metaphors will be more and more relevant.
Yeah.
Well, I'm struggling to think what a Grey Warwick can do at this point. I think the best thing they can do is just, they're going to probably have to give up Drakes. They're probably even potentially going to have to give up Baron. I mean, they could potentially try and contest Baron. That could be an area where they could get a miracle engage off. But you've got so little CC on the side of Grey Warwick compared to the CC coming out from Ascendance that even under Baron, they're going to have to get some sort of miracle Lulu ultimate, and you know, basically, I imagine Arpamakap is going to have to ultimate himself, and the AoE damage is going to have to try and do its work. But there's not enough on the side of Grey Warwick to allow a complete sweep at Baron. You can't exactly... If this was the other way round and Ascendance were behind, you'd say they've got loads of tools to come back at Baron. They've got the Sejuani ultimate, they've got the Vladimir ultimate, they've got the Rumble ultimate. Those are fantastic at contesting objectives in the pit areas, but there isn't enough on the side of Grey Warwick to contest those kind of objectives, so they just probably shouldn't at this point in time.
Yeah. I think Mr. Rogers is just going to try to be alone in these lanes, try to farm up as much as he can. You can see him popping the living artillery for it there, but as you said, Harpos Thor very good at split pushing by himself, and with Subatomic and Veil there, they're definitely going to struggle to hold them back.
The problem for Grey Warwick at the moment is they can hold turrets, they've got a lot of wave clear, but there's just far too much potential for the Ascendance lamp to dive, and even when they, you know, you've seen how these teamfights have been going, the dive will only go one way, and I actually really like this. What they're doing right now is just a 2-1-2, 2-1-2, 2-1-2.
Mr. Rogers going to get dived here. The depth charge comes out. Azalak actually coming in, wild growthing Psalm, which perhaps was not the target he meant to. They're going to keep chasing. Equalizer comes out, so Tommy picks up on Carp and gets the Rek'Sai kill in the bottom lane as well. Zizzle not going to go down in the top. Subatomic coming around on that rotation, helps pick up 2 here for Ascendance eSports. They're going to push for the inner tower as well, and Mr. Rogers and Psalm are going to have to pack away. So it's going to be a free tower in both the bot and the top lanes here for Ascendance. So they went showing how far ahead they are. They
went for the split push, they went for the dive, they couldn't deal with the dive because really they need their entire team to work as a complete anti-dive. But even with their entire team, they're just too far behind, I believe, at this point to really counter any form of engage coming out from the Ascendance lineup. Even with all of the tools that they have for anti-dive, the Lissandra ultimate, the Janna shields, the Lulu ultimate, there's not enough there to protect them for long enough. I think Ascendance, in the most part, will say they're happy to just ignore the towers, because you saw it there. That was a dive in the bot lane. Lissandra even managed to get her ultimate off, but it was, I mean, you can see there's just not enough there to protect against the dives that are happening like this at this point in time. And splitting the Grey Warwick composition up was really good, going 2-0-3, is you've taken their anti-dive and you split it and said that we can dive very easily with 3 members and clean up, and they did. They cleaned up, they got 2 turrets out of it, including the inhibitor turret. And that's the best way they want to play it. They're just putting pressure on Grey Warwick from multiple angles, and Grey Warwick need to be as a 5 to deal with and stop sieging of turrets.
They definitely do. Still no Locket of the Iron Solari. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. You need Magic versus this almost quadra AP team from Ascendance that we were talking about, but they're so far behind on gold, they're not able to pick up those items yet. Ascendance showing us their control of the enemy jungle. I was gonna say, when we were talking about what Grey Warwick can do to get back in this game, it's all about vision control, it's all about trying to control the vision in your own jungle as well, and they've got that double sightstone now, but it's really not. The problem is, for them, Ascendants don't care about vision. They can just powerhouse themselves into any lane.
I mean, they've got good vision with the pinks anyway, and they know that those pinks aren't going to go down easily, so why do they need to... Why do they need to focus on putting vision at this point in time? They know that the Grey Warwick side is unlikely to be venturing out of their own base. So as long as they've got pinks covering key areas, like the Baron area, the Dragon area, they're not going to get surprised. They've got a little bit of vision in the blue side jungle. They know that those pinks aren't going to go down, not anytime soon anyway.
Definitely.
So they don't need to worry as much about vision now. They know that they're forcing Grey Warwick into their base. They know the likely areas that Grey Warwick are going to be is taking minion waves, trying to get farm onto Cog. So, you know, they're not exactly looking. They'll set up vision when they're trying to pick, or maybe they think Grey Warwick are going to try and contest an objective. But at this point in time, Ascendants don't need to go for a Baron. There's no point. There's just an opportunity to give another bit of a rope to the Grey Warwick lineup.
All that would be doing is pushing themselves further in the lead, and they don't need to do that. They're far enough in the lead at the moment. If it comes to the point where they can get a very easy Baron without anyone else on the other team being alive, and they need to do it, that's when they'll do it. They don't need to get the Baron buff anymore.
20k gold lead. You never see this really in League of Legends on a semi-pro level at this point. You know,
I mean,
it happens, but we very rarely see it. It's such a big gold lead to garner because obviously Dragons no longer give you gold. It's impressive that Ascendants have managed to pull that out. We can analyze what happened this game in every single way, but the real bottom line is Mr. Rogers is just too far behind and has been too far behind the entire game. You can say what you like about what they could have done better, what they could have gone wrong, but
when you're building a Juggernaut comp and your Cogmore isn't big at all, you just can't do anything about it. Once again, Little bit of engage there, not really much used at all, and we see Grey Warwick having to back away once more. Thus far, they've seemed more like a sheep in wolf's clothing than a wolf in sheep's clothing, which we wanted them to be. Like, usually you see the new teams come into these sort of tournaments perhaps a little bit weaker on paper than their enemy, but they show up big and they do a good job. But this Warwick team not quite showing us their stuff. Maybe it's the Cogmore, maybe it's the Juggermore team composition. It's relatively new to a lot of EU teams.
I really think Grey Warwick should have swapped. They should have gone 2v1. That would have shut down the Rumble because he sucks in lane swaps, really. And it would have allowed Mr. Rogers a little bit more free time to get the farm that he needed. We saw he got shut down really hard in the bot lane. The Ascendance bot lane was dominant. It really was. It was dominant in every aspect, and Mr. Rogers just couldn't keep up. With that lane swap, that would have given him more time, less pressure, everything that you needed for a Juggernaut comp. And when they pick a Rumble and you have a Lulu, it seems in my head that would have been the key thing to do. And actually, the Ascendance lineup thought it too. We saw at the start, they had that ward to try and scout out for the 2v1. Just going to focus in on Baron. He's doing.
Well, no, I was just showing Damnation. There's a ward there. He's been standing in that Baron pit for a good 30 seconds, thinking, "Oh, I got to catch, boys." No, there's a ward. They're going to start off Baron though. And what can Grey Warwick do about this? We talked about it being a little bit of a possibility for them to get back in the game. But
Miracle Janna steal.
Miracle Janna steal. No Miracle. No Let's steal. Here he comes. They're going to go for it. 13,000 HP. He gets it! Oh my goodness gracious me. But Mr. Rogers slightly overextended. Hubbuster's gone on to Swarm. He's going to help pick up that kill. And here comes the depth charge onto Azalak. He will flash across the wall. They should be able to escape. They might have Baron on 3 members here. Arpa McCup. What?
Yeah,
what was that?
I'm struggling to think that too, but he did manage to get away.
He does get away, but come on, Carpy boy. I know Splash is not effective at all, but it doesn't mean you have to do it in the bushes. Maybe he felt a little bit out of water, like a fish out of water.
It was the swag steal. Sorry, the swag escape. He knew that he could just
boys, I'm here.
Play
come on,
trick,
come get me.
I mean, we'll see it here. We'll see the steal just happen here. Nollet goes in, manages to survive long enough here. He should have gone down, I think, and they did try and focus him, but unfortunately, too much damage had already gone down onto Baron.
No smite used.
And no smite used. There was just an out smite there, and we're going to see the team fight going on right now.
There's a big team fight at the moment. Damnation's going to get taken down. Mr. Rogers still alive. Up McCubb is going to get taken out, and they go onto Bell. Hubbuster taking out the tower though. Mr. Rogers can do a lot of work here. Sagrid Pool does come in. There's a wild grab. The exhaust on Hubbuster, but he gets the Zhonya's down. But is he going to be able to escape? Howling Gale comes out, and no, he's not.
Wow.
And is this the comeback? Oh,
comeback of the
Grey
century,
Warwick gonna
if it is.
show us their colours. 15,000 gold, still the disadvantage, but a couple of kills on Grey Warwick on Mr. Rogers. Perhaps maybe wanted a few more than that. He only picked up 1 in that team fight, but he is he's contemplating life.
I think he's disconnected.
Thinking about his kills, thinking about his life. There's the pause. Probably DC'd.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we've only seen a couple of shades, I'm sure we've got 50 shades more of Grey Warwick. Because that was a really nice turnaround team fight there, and they had the anti-dive really showed itself true, and they got a lot of protection onto Mr. Rogers. He did get a shutdown too. This is going to be really good for him. He's going to finish that Blade of the Ruin King, but you've got to remember they are still 15k behind. I mean, if you think that they've just climbed a quarter of the way to Everest base camp, they've still got Everest to mount. And I think that was more poor play from the Ascendance lineup as opposed to...
You don't dive a Juggernaut.
Yeah. Especially with Baron. Like maybe previously, and actually there's a free inhibitor. I mean, actually inhibitor's already gone down the bot lane, but especially with Baron, I mean, maybe previously they could have got away with it because they were doing so well and there was no Baron, but I don't know. I think that was a poor decision by Ascendance, but the Grey Warwick lineup played it really well.
Yeah, good thing for Grey Warwick as well. They picked up their Aegis now, so building towards the Locket of the Iron Solar, you have to expect on that Janna. Going to give them that little bit more tank ability as a team. Of course, that AoE magic resist. And also, we saw how late in that fight Azalak decided to use Wild Growth. Now, before he used that, Arpa McCarp had already gone down. It's obviously a very conscious decision here from Grey Warwick now, because earlier on we saw Azalak using that Wild Growth on basically anyone who was going low. It's very conscious that they're just going to put all of it in Cogmore now, and maybe that's how these team fights are going to start turning around.
The later you go, the only person you want to be using Wild Growth on is Cogmore. And with that, Rabadon's Death Cap finished up on Lulu now. Wild Growth is going to be even more effective. So, again, nice pick up there. There is glimpses of hope for the Grey Warwick side. I still think they may lose this Dragon out, and it depends on how quickly they can react. Subatomic and Zizzle, I think they know that the people are coming. They actually may have to back out. So actually, it was a nice reaction there. Didn't quite see how close Mr. Rogers was.
The thing is here, there's a Void Rush available, but because they've been pinned back in Equalize on Swarm.
Yeah, I mean, that was I think maybe they should have just taken the Dragon for free at this point in time, because I think they could have got away with it, and now they're going to lose the Dragon after trying to chase down the Rumble.
Are they? Are they?
Yeah, I'm certain.
Is the culling onto Sam?
I'm certain they're going to lose the Dragon
There's
now.
a Rek'Sai coming.
Yeah.
Zizzle's low. Subtomic's low. Zizzle has no mana, because he doesn't work off mana.
Yeah, but
what's going to happen?
Half Past Thor is already coming now towards this Dragon Pit. There is no vision for the Grey Warwick lineup because they haven't had the chance to put vision down. So they don't know where the rest of the Ascendance lineup is. It'll be very risky for them to commit hard to this Dragon, but Arp and McCarp wants to step up to the plate, get some wards over. Oh yeah,
really
actually, 2 members from Ascendance backed. So
yeah, because they were both too low.
Yeah, okay.
This is what I'm saying. It's clever.
Well,
never eliminate Grey Warwick.
I was certain Ascendance would have been able to defend that, but unfortunately, I didn't see how low Subatomic and Zizzle were. I thought they were probably a little bit higher than that, but no. Grey Warwick do manage to pull out a nice Dragon there, so that's going to be fairly decent for them. Second Dragon in the game, not exactly the most powerful when you're just trying to defend all the time, because obviously you're not really getting any damage to structures, but what it does do is prevent that 4th Dragon in the game coming out for Ascendance.
Definitely does. And I was about to say, there was a Void Rush available for Nolet, but he'd been stuck in his base for so long that he wasn't actually able to have any tunnels like anywhere near the enemy, anywhere near the Dragon. It was all in his own base.
He's still going for the dive.
Damnation. The dive comes out once more, and here is Nolet. So much damage coming out, but there was no Mr. Rogers for the start of this fight. He's finally going to arrive. 1 Caustic Spittle comes out. A good equalize onto Mr. Rogers. The Hemoplate goes down as well. Hubbar's going to try and chase this one down. It won't be enough damage from him, but no Mr. Rogers for the entirety of that fight. Basically, means that their fight will go to Ascendance. They're going to ascend to victory here. We have to expect, even with Mr. Rogers and Azlark coming in. First Nexus Tower goes down. They've got 1 inhibitor. Bottom lane inhibitor has to be spawned, but Mr. Rogers won't be able to do much, I don't think, against this Ascendance lineup now. Subatomic pushing forward. He might try and get the kill onto the Nexus Tower. Damnation, lucky the hook misses, because otherwise he would have been under the Nexus. Dodges the Glacial Prison, but Nexus goes down, and Ascendance take the first game in this best of 3.
Yeah, the Ascendance lineup, they went for the dive again. They exploited the fact that Mr. Rogers wasn't there. They had a small window of opportunity, and they took it. They took that window of opportunity, and you saw they blew everything onto Janna as well. So they really took out the only person that could effectively disengage into the turret before she had the chance to disengage. And then they just followed it up fantastically. Mr. Rogers was far too late to the fight there. He went back to get his Blade of the Ruined King, I believe, trying to get a cash in on a bit of that cash dollar that he made earlier on with the shutdowns. But again, that was a lot of damage done by Cogmore that game, actually. We can see it up on our screens.
I mean, the problem being that he's done 26,000 damage. Rumble's done 26,000. But then the next highest, Half Past Thor's done 22.5. And on the side of Grey Warwick, you've only got Lissandra in that mid lane done 18,500. That's a big damage difference.
I think the key aspect here is if you're going to go for a Juggernaut comp, you go for all out or nothing Juggernaut comp.
I can't remember, was Morgana banned in Picks and Bans?
I can't remember, maybe, but I'm not totally sure that the Lissandra and Rek'Sai were the correct picks if they were going to go for the Juggernaut comp. Obviously, the Janna and Lulu are fantastic, but if you're going to go for a Juggernaut comp, you just try and go for as much disengage or as...
Someone asked me, is it in the rules that we have to wear the same clothes?
Yeah, it is. It is in the rules. We've been explicitly told to look like golfers.
Yeah. And he's all creased over here.
I am a bit creased, unfortunately. I couldn't find an iron.
Anyway, guys, we will be right back with the next game between Ascendance and Grey Warwick. This is the ESL UK Premiership. We are in Group A today. The winner of this best of 3 faces up against Team Infused. Make sure you stay tuned.